Hello everyone and welcome to our third on-screen game of Devilry Afoot, the folk horror monster hunting game. Today's scenario is entitled Wolves in Sheep's Clothing because a pair of sneaky werewolves have concealed themselves amongst this group of villagers and are preparing to emerge in all their lycanthrope splendor so they can feast upon a country folk buffet. That is, of course, unless our intrepid monster hunters can terminate the shapeshifters' reign of terror before they kill more than half the villagers. So since we've played a couple of games of Devilry Afoot on the channel already, we're not going to give you a granular rundown of the rules and dice calculations. If you'd like some of that, definitely check out our previous Devilry Afoot gameplay videos, which explain the rules in greater depth. Also, I should mention that after our last on-screen game of Devilry Afoot, entitled The Dance Macabre, Lynn played an off-screen solo game of the next scenario, Lost in the Woods, in which two adorable moppets wander off into the forest, called by the siren song of hungry grass, which wanted to lull them to sleep and then consume them, and a pack devil eager to spirit the children off to the fairy realm, never to be seen again. There were also two terrifying bogeymen wandering about who consider human youngsters to be a delicacy. In that game, our courageous monster hunters Otto Bach, Brother Thaddeus, Goodman Trout, Sven the Follower, and the gentleman Conrad von Kleist were able to save the children and dispatch one of the bogeymen, putting some much-needed silver in their own pockets. During the same scenario, Conrad von Kleist, deeply shaken by the wounds he suffered in the Dance Macabre, struck a bargain with the pack devil, dispelling it from the material plane, but also becoming a drunkard in the process. So now Conrad is a flagellant, a boozer, and he's still traumatized by his past encounters with the supernatural. Fortunately for Conrad and the rest of the hunters, two new recruits have joined the troop, the religious type Brother Wolfwig the Wild, and the soldier known as Veteran Beauregard, who's carrying a very useful torch as part of his gear. I should also mention that each member of the party is currently wearing a sprig of wolfsbane, which will help reduce the ferocity of werewolf attacks, and the pistoleros Otto Bach and Conrad von Kleist have their weapons loaded with silver shot, though they each only have one round of such, so may their aim be true. Okay, we're ready to start the game. The monster hunters are in position in two clumps, and they've heard a rumor that there are werewolves hiding out in the village here, but they don't know which of the villagers are lycanthropes and which are regular humans. So we've numbered the villagers with these little squares here, and then we're going to put the game tokens in the Mystic Bag of Fate. And the first time we draw a werewolf token, we will roll, and that will determine which of these guys are werewolves. So there's two werewolves hidden amongst the people, and the werewolves want to basically transfigure at some point and feast upon as many villagers as they can. And if they kill more than half the townsfolk, then the monster hunters lose the game, so they want to avoid that if possible. Plus there's also humans in all these buildings, and so if the werewolves find themselves outside of 6 inches of any other human, they'll attack a door and see if they can feast on anybody who's inside that hovel. So we don't want that either. Okay, I'm going to load the game tokens into the Mystic Bag of Fate, and we'll start turn 1. All right, first token of the game is a werewolf. So we're going to roll 2 dice, and that'll determine which of these villagers is actually a werewolf. A 10 and a 7. So we rolled a 10 and 8. So 7 and 8 are werewolves. They're both on the same side, which could be good.
And could be bad.
So the werewolves have transformed into wolfman form, and now we know who the wolves are and who the humans are. And the humans are going to need to be within 6 inches of a wolf and have line of sight on it to become aware. So right now they are oblivious to the werewolf threat, except for maybe this guy over here. So we're going to say that this villager here and this villager here are aware of the werewolves because they kind of see them in their peripheral. These other guys are blissfully ignorant.
At least they don't attack on their first turn.
Right, so the werewolves have transformed, but they won't attack till the next time we draw their token. But they have 4 tokens in the bag because they get a lot of actions. All right, the next token to be drawn from the Mystic Bag of Fate is a hunter.
Very good.
So we pick one hunter, activate, and move them. So they had to break their party up into 2 groups because they didn't know which of these guys were going to be wolves. And now the wolves are all up here, both of them. So these guys are a little further away from the action than they might like. So the first hunter to activate is Wolfwig, and because he's a drunk when he rolls his activation the first time, we got to see whether he's hungover or drunk or just stone sober.
So he needs a 2+. He got a 10 and a 3, so he gets 2 actions.
So with all modifiers accounted for, he gets 2 actions. And what's he going to do?
He's going to run up 8.
Okay, 2 moves of 4. Oh, can he get in there?
No.
Oh.
But I want him closer than the villager.
So Wolfwig right here has moved up, and he's trying to get between this villager and that werewolf, which is awfully brave.
He is rather wild.
And the next token is the werewolves.
And they're both within 6 inches of villagers or hunters.
Right. Pretty close in here. So this werewolf is closest to Wolfwig, and this werewolf appears to be closest to this villager here. So let's find out what this werewolf is going to do. 5. Attack. So he attacks Wolfwig. Now Wolfwig does have a sprig of wolfsbane, and he has a buckler, which will be helpful. So the werewolf attacks.
2. He misses.
He misses, so that means that Wolfwig can have an opportunity to attack back if he wants.
He definitely does.
Okay. However, he's a religious type, so he's not that good at fighting, but he does have a sword, but he's also at a -1 because of the opportunity attack.
He got an 8.
8, which is enough because the werewolf has a defense of 7. So he hits the werewolf, rolls on the wound chart.
3.
3 is nothing. It's a scratch. Too bad. That could have been something.
Could have been something. And the other one. 5.
5 is attack. So the werewolf charges in and attacks that human, that poor little villager. 4. The werewolf's attack is 4, and there's no modifiers, so the werewolf hits that poor human and does nothing. It's a scratch. So the villager dodged a fang and claw. That could have been considerably worse.
Very much so.
All right, 2 werewolf tokens remain, as do about 5 hunter tokens. The hunters. So who's the next character to activate?
Goodman Trout.
Goodman Trout, who has a holy symbol, which is basically an immortal trout. He's swift, remember. He can move fast over open ground.
And he's gallant, so he gets +1 to activation if they're within 6 inches of another hunter.
So he's going to attempt to activate
2 activations.
2 actions for Goodman Trout.
So he almost makes it.
Doesn't quite reach the werewolf.
But he should next time.
The werewolves are very tough and they have a lot of hit points, but what we discovered in the practice game is that if the hunters gang up on them and use every advantage they have, torchlight and everything else, then they can bring them down. But right now, it's just poor Wolfwig against that werewolf, though Goodman Trout is running up to support. The next token is the werewolves. So we got 2 werewolves in combat there, though if we get a certain die roll, they could break away and hide. But let's go ahead and roll for this werewolf here and see what he's going to do.
10.
10, he's going to attack.
Okay.
So he continues his assault on Wolfwig.
He does not do it.
He doesn't do it?
-3.
So the werewolf only needs a 4+ to hit, but because of Wolfwig's buckler and his sprig of wolfsbane, the werewolf misses. So good on you, Wolfwig. Next is a werewolf over here. 2, and he misses. Wow.
That's a pretty feisty villager to hold off a werewolf.
Yeah.
He's got the makings of a hunter.
Well, he's lived a hardscrabble life out here in the wilds. It's probably not his first werewolf attack he's had to deal with. Okay, drawing another token, and it is a hunter.
I think we're going to try to activate Conrad.
Conrad von Kleist. Right here, flagellant, drunkard, and sufferer of trauma. So Conrad got a 6 and a 7. That's 2 actions, but no negative penalties for flagellation or being a drunk. So that's good. Can't quite reach the werewolf yet.
But he can get close.
So Conrad moves up. But can't quite get into base-to-base with the werewolf yet. But his loyal follower Sven gets to activate with him, so that's good.
Indeed. 2 activations.
2 actions for Sven. Normally he doesn't do much. He kind of sits there and shivers.
And he's going to move up as well.
So Sven moves up to support Conrad. He has a bow, so he could shoot if there was a clear target. It's a little dicey to shoot into combat because if you miss, you might hit somebody else. So there's Sven over there. He does not have a hand weapon really, but he can awkwardly poke them with his bow, or I guess put it away and try to punch the werewolf with his meaty fists. But for right now, he's just running up. Okay. Next token. Werewolf. There, wolf. Let's do this one over here first.
Okay. 4.
4 is, I think, Intimidate. So this werewolf here has been trying to fight this little villager and has not been successful. So now I guess he's going to try to intimidate. So anyone within 6 inches is going to be frightened by the werewolf howl.
Yeah, everyone but Conrad, Sven, and this one little villager.
Okay, so most of the villagers and a couple of the hunters.
Yep.
So this actually helps the villagers because they will automatically turn and run 4 inches in a straight line directly away from the monster.
And that will make them aware.
I suppose it would. I suppose it would make them all aware.
If they heard the howl.
All right, so the villagers run 4 inches away. This guy's going to go about like this. This guy will kind of go like that. This guy, I guess, will kind of go sort of like this. And that yellow dot is to indicate that they're aware. We're going to say they're aware. This guy will kind of go like so. And then this villager here would run kind of like that. And kind of like that, I guess. So the villagers have started to scatter because of that werewolf growl. And the hunters who are in range need to make a resolve roll. So Goodman Trout needs to make a resolve roll.
He fails.
So Goodman Trout runs 4 inches away from the werewolf. He takes off. And Wolfwig the Wild. 1, and he runs 4 inches away from the werewolf. He takes off. Coward! So that leaves Sven and Conrad facing down this werewolf because Wolfwig took off. So what do we got? 4 werewolf tokens and 3 hunter tokens. So that means there's 3 hunter tokens and an innocent token in the bag. Hunter.
Veteran Beauregard.
Veteran Beauregard. So Veteran Beauregard, if he can get 2 activations, 2 actions, he can get in there and attack the werewolf.
And he does.
And he does. That sort of running attack at the end of your second movement is a -1 on the actual attack, but a +1 on the damage if it comes to that. So Veteran Beauregard is a soldier, which is good. He's carrying a torch, which is good. He's got a sword, which is good. And unfortunately, though, there's not a lot of other hunters in base-to-base of that werewolf, but he'll just have to go it alone. 1. So he missed, though, after all that. So the werewolf is going to make an opportunity attack back. So Beauregard has Wolfsbane, which will help a little bit, but go ahead and roll. 10. Doesn't help that much.
4.
4 on the wound chart. That is 1 wound on poor Beauregard. So that means we got to mark this werewolf because Beauregard has gotten bitten. And so they're going to have to kill that werewolf and make a potion from it to prevent Beauregard from being a lycanthrope, being wolf-bitten. So don't let this werewolf run away. So Beauregard will have a penalty on his activations and resolve rolls going forward because he's wounded. The hunters activate next. So that's going to be either Brother Thaddeus or Otto Bach.
Brother Thaddeus.
Brother Thaddeus, right here. He's a good activator.
He gets 2 actions.
2 actions for Brother Thaddeus. He's just going to move up into the center of the town, huh?
Yep.
Is he holding his buckler or his holy symbol?
His buckler.
So Brother Thaddeus moves up with a buckler in one hand and a sword in the other. Next entity to activate is the Innocents. So all the aware Innocents, and that's all of them, are going to flee 6 inches away from the nearest werewolf. Flee! They run. Run, you bastards. This innocent here is kind of near the edge, so he's going to escape, so he's off the board. Same with this guy here. Seems like this scenario can go badly if the werewolves are amongst a bunch of villagers and just start chowing down. But once the villagers scatter, then it's a lot easier for them to survive. So 2 villagers have run off the board so far. This villager here, it's not quite all the way off, but almost. So he's heading to the hills. Then there's this guy here. And because the long edge of the board actually starts 3 inches in, he does escape. So he makes off as well. So 3 villagers have run off the board. So one could say that's good for the monster hunters because now they'll definitely win the mission. But now the werewolves can focus their attention on the monster hunters themselves. So maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. What is it, Pippin? A werewolf? All right, let's see what's left in the bag. I think it's just a hunter token. So that's Otto Bach, right?
Yep.
So Soldier Otto Bach is activating. 2 actions for Otto.
So he's going to move his full. He only gets to move 3 on his first one because he's lazy.
He's lazy.
So Otto Bach is going to move right up with Goodman Trout.
Yeah, Otto's moving this way, and Goodman Trout is moving this way. So it's time to reload the Mystic Bag of Fate, and the villagers have run off. They've scattered, leaving the monster hunters behind to defend the village. So what do you want, a monster hunter or a werewolf?
A monster hunter or a villager?
Hunters!
Brother Thaddeus.
Brother Thaddeus is moving, and he has an opportunity to help gang up on the werewolves here. 2 actions for Brother Thaddeus. So Brother Thaddeus moves up to attack the werewolf, and he will get a combat bonus because veteran Beauregard is in base-to-base with the beast as well.
And he's got a torch.
And he's got a torch. All right, attack. 7, he hits the werewolf. 2, but it's just a scratch, does no damage. Unfortunate. Let's see what happens next. Werewolf. So what's this werewolf going to do? 7, he's going to attack.
4.
4, he hits. That's all he needed.
1.
And 1, he does no damage. Wow, that's fortunate.
Yes, indeed. Now the other one.
So this werewolf is within 6 inches of Thaddeus. And he chooses to intimidate. So who's within 6 inches of that werewolf?
Veteran Beauregard and Brother Thaddeus.
Okay, so Beauregard and Thaddeus each have to make a resolve roll, and Beauregard has got a wound, so he's going to do it at a -1.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Brother Thaddeus is fine.
Everybody's fine. They're not intimidated at all.
They're too busy trying to attack the werewolf.
Okay. Mystic Bag of Fate. Let's see what we get. A hunter. And that's going to be Conrad von Kleist, who's going to try to move and then shoot at this werewolf over here.
And if he only gets 1 activation, then he'll get in the scrum. Okay.
7 and a 9. Conrad gets 2 actions, so that's good.
So he's going to move up and then shoot. Does he get a penalty for moving and shooting?
He does. So actually, Lynn had a change of heart. So instead of Conrad shooting over here, he's going to get into this scrum with his sword because there's multiple hunters around this werewolf, which gives everybody a bonus. And that's the way you do it. 2, and that's just what he needed to hit. That's a 7.
4.
4, 1 wound on the werewolf. 1 tiny wound on the werewolf. Still better than nothing. You got to start whittling him down.
Then Sven also gets to activate.
So Sven, the loyal follower, is going to activate as well. Let's see how many actions Sven gets.
2.
2 actions for Sven. So Sven moves up. He's going to try to shoot an arrow into the rear of that werewolf. 2. He misses. Poor Sven. He lobbed a wild arrow. He really wants to earn his copper penny this month, so he's trying. He's making an effort. Got to put on a good show. Okay, who's next? A hunter. So Autobach right here has a pistol with a silver bullet loaded and ready to go.
So now we'll see how many activations he gets. 2.
2 actions for Autobach. That's good. So he can move and shoot. One of his abilities, he gets a bonus if he doesn't move and shoots, but he can move and shoot, though at a slight penalty. So Otto draws a bead on the werewolf and fires. So Otto gets a 5. That's enough to hit. So Otto is firing with silver shot, which means it's a +2 on the damage roll.
11.
11. That's pretty good. That's 3 wounds on the werewolf. It has a total of 5, so that brings it down almost to death.
But he has used up his silver shot.
He used up his one and only silver bullet. Okay, so now there's 3 hunter tokens that have been used and 1 werewolf token, which means 3 hunters remain and 3 werewolves remain, and also the innocents. Hunter. So Wolfwig the Wild, way over here, is going to summon his courage and attempt to activate.
2 actions for Wolfwig.
Because he's a religious type, so it's easier for him to activate. So now there's how many hunters? 4 around that werewolf, which is good because I don't think Wolfwig is a very good fighter, really. 10. Okay, that's good. Good enough. So I'll roll on the wound chart.
5.
5 is another light wound.
So he's up to 2.
2 wounds on that werewolf, who is just absolutely surrounded by hunters. I guess that's the way to do it. Hunter. It's going to be werewolf after werewolf after werewolf at the end of this turn.
It's going to be horrible.
So Beauregard here with the torch is in the scrum, but he hasn't activated yet this turn. So go ahead and see how many actions he gets.
And he's at -1 because of his wound. He gets 1 activation.
1 action.
Which is enough to let him attack.
Yeah, if he had a second action, he could concentrate, but he does not. So it's just going to be a regular attack.
At +6.
+6 because of the mob.
8.
So he hits, rolls to damage, nothing. It's a scratch. He scratches the werewolf. Oh, Beauregard, you had a chance to do something great. All right, so now it's either going to be Goodman Trout, the Innocents, or Werewolf. Yeah. Werewolves. So this werewolf here is within 6 inches of a bunch of guys, but go ahead and see what he does. 8 minus 3, because he's got 3 wounds, which is still attack. So Sven, probably. So he charges in to attack Sven. Not in the shadows, not attacking from the rear. There's no additional monsters. And it's not an opportunity attack, so he just rolls. 8 hits. Rolls on the wound chart. 9. Ooh, that's not good. So that's 2 wounds on Sven. It's enough to get his attention. Then we have the big scrum here, where 1 werewolf is taking on 4 hunters. See what he does. 5 minus 2, that's intimidate. So he's going to try to intimidate all these guys. So he lets out a mighty roar. And I guess they all have to make a resolve roll. So actually everybody except Goodman Trout needs to make one. You want to start with Otto?
No, I don't. I want to start with Sven. 3.
3.
He runs away.
He runs away. They got to move 4 inches directly away from the monster. So Sven takes off. He runs.
Otto. He's fine.
Otto's fine.
Brother Thaddeus.
Brother Thaddeus
He's fine.
is fine.
Wolfwig. He's fine. Veteran Beauregard is not fine.
He runs. We need to make a small correction because Sven over here was actually running away from this werewolf, so he runs that way, not that way. So Sven takes off. And Beauregard takes off. So he's running this way. And finally Conrad.
He's fine.
Who activates next? Werewolf. Here's a scrawny little werewolf here with 3 wounds. Let's roll to see what he does. 10.
He attacks.
He attacks. So he moves in on Otto, who shot him, so that's fitting. 6 hits Otto. 7 is 2 wounds on poor Otto. So Otto takes 2 wounds. He's 1 wound away from death. Sven has 2 wounds. He's 1 away from death. So Beauregard over here has a wound. There's 2 wounds on this werewolf and 3 wounds on this one. So it could go either way. So this werewolf here, see what he does. 7 minus 2 is a 5. He attacks. We'll roll at random to see who he attacks. 5 would be Brother Thaddeus. So he pivots to attack Brother Thaddeus. He attacks.
10.
10 on poor Brother Thaddeus.
So then we roll for 4.
4 is 1 wound on Thaddeus. So Thaddeus takes a wound. They thought ganging up on that werewolf would be a good idea, but since they didn't land a couple of blows, they hit, but they didn't do any damage. So that has been their undoing so far. So there's 1 more hunter token in the bag, 1 wolf token, and 1 innocent token. The hunters. So that's Goodman Trout, right?
Yep.
Let's see how many actions he gets.
2. He only has to move once to get there. He has to move twice to get there. So I guess he's going to help out Autobach.
Goodman Trout is going to help Otto out in his fight against this werewolf.
6, not enough.
Not quite enough. He needed a 7. He got a +3 because of the torch, because he's attacking from behind, and because he's got help from Otto, but it wasn't quite enough. Well, that means in the bag we have innocents, and they're probably going to run away to safety, or a werewolf. Werewolf. So it's a big pile-on between the werewolves and the hunters. There's a werewolf right here, and let's roll to see what he does.
1.
1. So he's going to hide. So he's going to transform into a wolf. And he runs toward the nearest shadows. Like so. So he's now in shadow. Though that doesn't help much when there's a torch in play. And then this other werewolf is going to roll at a -2. Because he's got 2 wounds.
6.
6 is still attack. So we'll randomly determine who he attacks. So the werewolf decides to attack Conrad von Kleist.
7.
7, he hits. Rolls on the wound chart.
7.
7 is 2 wounds. Oh, I'm sorry. 7 is a light wound. So 1 wound on Conrad. So yeah, that means that Otto only suffered 1 wound back when he was wounded. Everyone's wounded except for Goodman Trout. That's funny.
I wouldn't call it funny. It's dangerous.
So Lynn's trying to remember which werewolf wounded which hunter, but since most of the hunters are wounded, they're going to have to catch these werewolves and kill them so they can make an antidote out of the fur. Otherwise, they're going to be wolf bit. And finally, it's the innocents, and they're just going to run away. Flee! Run to the hills! 6 innocents escaped, and there were no casualties. So that's really cool.
Of innocence.
Of innocents. But the hunters are getting mauled. All right, let's reload the Mystic Bag of Fate and see what happens in turn 3. All right, what do you want? Hunter or wolf?
Hunter.
Hunter. The hunters get to activate. So in the big fight, Brother Thaddeus is activating. 2 actions for Brother Thaddeus. What's he going to do? Concentrate and stab?
Concentrate and stab.
All right. So that's a lot of pluses. The torch, 3 helpers, and then concentrate. So that's +5, right? 9. That's sufficient. Roll on the wound chart. 9 is 2. So that's 2 wounds on the werewolf, bringing it down to 1. Okay. Well, that's helpful. Thaddeus was concentrating on that stab. Okay, what's next? Hunter. So all the hunters are still on their feet, but most of them are wounded, with the exception of Goodman Trout. So Goodman Trout is right here. He's going to use his mace to clonk that werewolf from behind. But we need to see how many actions he gets.
2. So he is also going to concentrate.
All right, and clonk with his mace.
9.
9. He hits. Rolls on the wound chart.
7.
7 is 1, so that's enough to kill a werewolf. So you killed that werewolf.
So all the yellow guys are safe.
So they can make, at great expense, mind you, a cure out of that wolf fur to save them from being wolf bitten. But you still have 2 that are wolf bitten by this one. So let's see what that guy does.
8 attack.
8 minus 3 is 5.
Oh, 5. I think it's still attack.
So who's closest? Probably Otto, right? So the wolf turns into a werewolf, attacks Otto from the rear.
2.
That's a miss, actually.
So Otto can attack back with his club.
Otto can club back. 2, and he misses. Oh, Otto. All right. Who's next? The hunters activate next.
So Wolfwig.
So Wolfwig gets 2 actions, thanks to the torch. And he moves up to attack this werewolf from the rear, which is a dirty trick. And let's see if he hits.
6, not enough.
Not quite enough. All right, let's see who's next. The hunters once again, so they can just pile in. So who's going to activate?
Let's let Otto activate. 1 action.
1 action for Otto. He can club with his pistol. Rolling with a +2 because of all modifiers. 4.
6.
6, not quite there. Next person to activate is a hunter, so that's 5 hunters in a row. That's pretty good. Beauregard, this might be your time to shine. Let's see if you can get in there.
2 actions.
2 actions from Beauregard.
I want him to move around to this side, so...
Right. So Beauregard used 2 actions to move to get in there, but he can still attack at a -1. +4 because of the mob. He hits. Roll on the wound chart.
8.
8. Serious wound. Target suffers 2 wounds, and that's enough to kill that werewolf. So Beauregard justifies his existence and smites the werewolf with a killing blow. And that's the end of the game. So the hunters collected the pelts of 2 werewolves, and also we drew 5 hunter tokens in a row, and any statisticians out there can tell me what are the odds of that when there's 4 werewolf tokens in the bag that haven't been drawn yet. So that was pretty fortunate. Maybe Providence was on the side of the hunters. It knew that they were getting mauled and they needed some help. So what do we get for killing a werewolf? 60 shillings per werewolf slain, so that's pretty cool. And none of the villagers died. That's also cool. Though every hunter, with the exception of Goodman Trout, is going to have to roll on the wound chart to see if they have some lasting debilitating injury. Alright folks, that's a wrap on Wolves in Sheep's Clothing, our 3rd on-screen game of Devilry Afoot, the folk horror black powder monster hunting game. Thanks as always for stopping by today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great Halloween. Be safe out there. And we'll see you soon.
Watch out for the werewolves.
And watch out for the werewolves. Pippin, what are you thinking? Are you going to protect us from the creatures of the night?